Meeting will come to order. Please take your seats. If you take your seats, we can get started. I know there are a number of people in line, so we're going to start kind of slowly, give people a chance to find their seats. Thank you. I find that the warrant for this annual town meeting has been properly executed by the Board of Selectmen and properly served, and return of service made by Constable Matthew J. King. We are in session. As is our custom, we'll begin the meeting with the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag. I call upon outgoing Selectman Melissa Hebert to lead us in the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. And at this point, I'm going to recognize Selectman Jim Carr for a presentation.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. First, I'd like to start off by saying ABC, CBS, ESPN, they have nothing on LCTV. They did a fantastic job tonight. It's a huge job. We have the cafetorium in here. They're able to see us, so thank you, LCTV. I just want to say a few words to our outgoing chair, Melissa Hebert, and publicly recognize her for her service to the town. I was elected 3 years ago with her. She's been fantastic for the board. She's been fantastic for the town, and I know she's not going to walk away because we'll reel her back into something. Whether it's a master plan implementation committee, she won't be far. So I look forward to working with you. And from the entire board, thank you. And this is a little something from the board members.
Okay, I have a few people I'd like to recognize this evening. If you have a copy of the town annual report, you know that it's dedicated to 4 individuals who served the town of Littleton, and I would like to mention tonight Peter Casaneri, former member of the Board of Health, Frank Matheson, longtime member of the Conservation Commission, Booth Jackson, our wiring inspector for many years, and Isabel Ersch, who was the public health nurse for the town for many years. They are missed by many and not forgotten, certainly, by the town. I'd also like to make note of the fact that I hope Chief King, I see that he's here. I just want to mention that our Police Chief Matt King is marking 35 years with the Littleton Police Department tonight, and I'd like to recognize Chief King. Thank you, Chief. Thank you for your service. All right. A lot of changes tonight. A lot of things are still the same. I'm going to go through some of the things that are the same. And, well, actually, I'll start with something that's different. The voting procedure, should we go to a ballot and checklist, is a little different. And we've got 8 ballot boxes now instead of 4. And you see them here in front and throughout the hall and throughout the cafeteria. And they were an Eagle Scout project, and I'll turn this over to the town clerk to recognize the scout that built these ballot boxes.
Thank you, everyone. This is Stephen Holmes, and he is an Eagle candidate. I approached him back in February, or Sandy Clyde did, and myself, to see if he would be willing to help us out. You know the dilemma we were in back in November when we only had 4 ballot boxes. Long waiting lines, and everybody was going every different direction. Well, this young gentleman stepped up and has helped us out. If you notice, there's 4 ballot boxes up in the front, and as you look at them, they're a lot different than what they were before. Obviously, they have the beautiful seal, and on the top it says yes and no. He put a lot of hard work into it. I appreciate everything he's done. He is also hasn't completed it because he's going to be doing us a case in order to be holding these. He's done a great job. I would like you to please give him a round of applause. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you. Well, you probably have noticed the video screens by now. We do have an overflow section in the cafeteria that well, you can see it's not exactly overflow right now, but it may be at some point. And part of the improvements we're trying to bring to you is the changes in the balloting procedures, also the overflow area, which is presided over by Deputy Moderator Paul Avella at the moment. And Paul actually has a speaking role during Article 2, so when he comes to the gym to present Article 2, we have a second deputy moderator, Mr. Charlie Ellis, who will be filling in for PJ while he's away from the cafeteria. So many preparations have been made for tonight, and we're hoping that we have a good meeting experience. As you came in, I hope you got a copy of the yellow update sheet. Thankful to say there are very few updates on it this year. We're aiming for a time when we don't have to give you an update sheet, but the town meeting report needs to be mailed several weeks in advance, and some things do change. So if you just look at that quickly, you'll see that Article 2 under the special town meeting warrant has been withdrawn, and there's some slight changes in the text to Article 22 under the annual town meeting, and we'll get to that a little bit later. Please note the emergency exits in the event that it becomes necessary to use them. Our town meeting guidelines are posted on the town website, but it's really a matter of common sense and common courtesy. We've had some town meetings of late where the courtesy was honestly lacking a little bit, and I'm hoping we can have a more civil dialogue, if you will, tonight on the many important issues that you'll be considering. If you wish to speak, when the time comes, go to one of the microphones in the hall, and you need to be recognized by the moderator. And please state your name and address every time you speak, because we're recording this for the record, and it might seem redundant, but we do need to know your name and address each time you speak. The general rule is nobody can speak twice until everybody's had a chance to speak once. And I guess I'd add to that that no one should speak twice unless they've got something new to say. Unless there's some new information or a fresh perspective, I think we need to let everyone have a chance to express their view, and once should do it for most articles, to be honest with you. So all questions come through the moderator. Simple amendments can be verbal. More complicated ones need to be in writing. So I hope that people were able to, one way or another, through either cable television or the town meeting report, learn about the new procedure we're going to try this year. You'll probably recall we have been doing a consent calendar whereby the selectmen essentially propose articles that are deemed to be non-controversial, more mundane, routine than others, And it's worked pretty well. We were able to get a single vote on those articles, a unanimous vote. And it gives us more time to deal with more significant articles. Well, this year we're adopting a slightly different procedure. Instead of the selectmen or myself or the clerk or town council putting that list together, we're going to let you put that list together tonight. I'm going to read through the articles, and we're going to do it in a few minutes because I know people are still coming in, and I want to give them every opportunity to get in here. But we'll read through the list of the articles, and similar to the consent calendar, if you want to debate an article, you need to say hold and shout it out so that we can, definitely hear you. And we'll go through the entire list. Chances are there's going to be more than a handful of articles that fall into that routine annual reauthorization category, things that we can bundle together and vote as a block, and we'll be left with the articles that people really want to talk about. So we're opening the procedure up to the entire warrant, but it's really in you, the voters' hands, as to which articles go forward to a full debate and vote. So we're gonna do that as one of the first orders of business, but I'm told that the line is still quite long, so we'll start actually with the annual town meeting warrant, and we'll work our way through a couple of articles before we do the call of the warrant, and that way we'll give more people a chance to participate. I'm sorry? Are we good? Oh, okay. Well, I'm told the line has magically disappeared, and people have found their seats, so we're good to go then. Well, then we'll start with the call of the articles. So I'm going to read through the list, and this is for the annual town meeting only. If we have a special town meeting, we'll get to in short order. So actually, if you have your booklet, it's on page 3. It's the list of all the articles. And I'm going to read through the list, and you tell me which ones you want to hold on and which ones you want to debate. Article 1, town officers. Article 2, annual reports. I think I'm waiting for a hold on that one. I know that Paula Vella has a report on 2, so we're going to hold 2 because I know there's going to be a report to town meeting. Article 3, zoning amendment, senior residential development. Hold. Okay. Article 4, FY 2018 operating budget. Hold. Article 5, FY 18 revolving funds. 6, FY 18 water enterprise fund operating budget. 7, FY 18 park recreation and community education enterprise fund operating budget. Article 8, FY 18 capital items from available funds. Hold. Article 9, FY 18 community preservation budget. 10, personnel bylaw amendments. 11, stabilization fund. Hold. 12, capital stabilization fund. Hold. 13, debt exclusion stabilization fund. Hold. 14, trust fund grant. 15, senior citizens and veterans tax work-off abatement program. 16, use of Mass DOT Chapter 90 funds. Article 17, zoning amendment accessory apartment. Hold. Got that. Article 18, zoning amendment temporary moratorium on marijuana establishments. Hold. 19, Town Hall Middle School, Russell Street School parcel. 20, acquire land at parcel U39-4-14 for Mill Pond Restoration Project. Is there a hold? Okay. 21, acquire land at 31 Boxborough Road, Joyce Williams, for conservation purposes. Hold. Okay. 22, town bylaw, town meeting procedures. Is there a hold? Okay. 23, town bylaw amendment, departmental revolving funds. 24, home rule petition, 2 additional all-alcoholic package store licenses. Hold. 25, voter petition, non-binding resolution affirming Littleton's rights, Nagog Pond. Okay, is the citizen petitioner available for Articles 25 and 26? I'm being told that they've been withdrawn. Is that correct, sir? Okay. 25 and 26 have been withdrawn by the petitioner. 27, borrowing authorization. 28, supplemental prior borrowing votes to permit application of sales premium to pay project costs. 29, compensating balance agreement. 30, FY 2018 personal exemptions amount. Okay. If I heard you correctly, you put a hold on Articles 2, 3, 4, 8, 11, 12, 13, 17, 18, 20, 21, 22, and 24.
And everybody agrees?
That's our deputy moderator. You can see him on the screen there.
All in agreement here.
All in agreement? All right. All right, with that, I'll accept a motion to approve the non-held articles in the call of the articles by a unanimous vote, inclusive of the individual motions contained within this warrant and these motions. Is it so moved? So moved. Second? All right. No further debate. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Okay. Passes unanimously. So we have dealt with all of those articles that were not held, and we will start with Article 2, the first of those articles that were held, and we'll work our way through the warrant in that fashion, remembering that we have a special town meeting that we're going to get to very shortly. I think at this time I would ask if this is Article 2, annual reports. I know there's an update on the Littleton master plan process. I guess I'd ask if Deputy Moderator Vella could come to the gymnasium, and if our second Deputy Moderator Ellis could cover the cafeteria in the interim, that would be great. So we're going to hear a presentation on the master plan under Article 2. There are no other presentations planned, but we do think it's important for town meeting to hear about the progress of the master plan. All right. All right. So I'll now turn things over to Paula Vella, a report on the master plan 2030 process and plan.
Mr. Moderator, thank you very much. And folks, really excited to be here this evening. We're coming together on a 2 years plan, and we're going to take you through a little bit of what we've been doing for the last couple of years and let you know what the status now of our new master plan. Purpose is to report out to you and let you know what we've been doing. All right, this is the goal. I'm just going to give you a moment to read it, please. We want to be a prospering community, and we certainly want to be a community that's welcoming and that it feels like it's home for us, so that bucolic feel. This is what emerged over the 2 years from the folks in town. 2 years ago, I stood in front of you with this slide up there, and you can just kind of go down it. We told you we required the master plan. The state of Massachusetts requires it. But more importantly, we wanted it, and we wanted to update what we had. It was a top Board of Selectmen goal at the time. And you can see the current plan was 2002, and that's past tense because it's no longer the current plan, which is the great news. They put together a steering committee. There were 12 of us on that steering committee, and we worked with various people throughout the town, throughout the state, and other organizations also to work through this, and there'll be more on that. And that night, we were asking you for money. And when it was all said and done, we asked you for $213,000. And at the end of this briefing, there'll be a report on the money also. And we said anticipated 2-year process. Well, that was May 4th, 2015, May 1st, 2017, so almost 2 years to the day. Okay, so 2 years in the making. What have we been doing? The steering committee got together. First meeting was back in April of 2015. We worked for the 2 years, as I said, working closely with municipal officials here in town, other towns who were in various stages of their process where they just completed a master plan, were beginning one, in the middle of one, where they may have been, and they came in and gave us some very good advice and some things for us to think through. Educational institutions, state agencies, and certainly our associates, RKG associates. And I'm going to ask two of the members, Judy, stand up please, Judy Barrett and Eric Halverson. They're from RKG Associates, and they were our consultant throughout this process. Commitment and loyalty go a long way with me personally. And when we were first interviewing the various companies that came forth and put their bids in, and we sat down with RKG Associates, and Judy was the lead agent for the organization. And I looked at Judy and I said, in all candor, a lot of these other companies did very well also and competed favorably along with you. However, you were the deal breaker, or the deal maker, really. And in all honesty, she committed at that point because I asked her to, and the entire committee did. And she said, you have to be with us for the 2 years. And she has stuck with us for these 2 years. And not just stuck with us because she happens to be an employee of RKG Associates, because actually she's not anymore. She gave up that job to take another job down in Plymouth as their planning consultant. And she stayed with us even when no longer a direct employee. So I want to thank you very much, Julie. Thank you. But when it was all said and done, it was all of you, and all 9,200 of us here in town who made this happen and got us to where we are today. So I want to thank you, and you all deserve a round of applause also. Oh, you can do better than that. It's a big one. Okay, so public outreach. We want to get the word out, do as best we possibly could on doing that. And you can see we had various different opportunities to do that, whether it was public forums, whether it was the charrettes. We all learned that new French word, a charrette, during this process, so we're so much better for it now. The one-on-one interviews, the country fair, the flyers distributed at various different venues. We had the third Thursdays, public meetings, and we say 50 plus. We didn't even count, to be honest with you, but we looked at it. We were meeting 2 or 3 times a month, and then even more often than that at times. Okay, how's the plan organized? Because that's what's important for you. And I do have the plan. I'm excited because this is it. RKG delivered it to us today. There's an introduction and then the various chapters we go down through that. And the chapters pretty much, not I want to say dictated, but certainly recommended by state statute, but then also what was important to us, and that's how we organized it. And you can see it's the 10 chapters there on the book. What emerged as we went through this, there were strategy areas and themes, if you will. And again, those are them. Littleton Common, and you notice that we spent a lot of time on the Common because it's so vitally important to us. We had a charrette totally dedicated to that particular item. Building local capacity, and what we're talking about there is how do we improve things here in the town. A thriving town, the planned growth. We know we're going to grow. I think if you've lived in town at least 1 year, you've already seen things change, whether it's more facilities in the point, whether it's 15 Great Road, whether it's Turkey Farm. It's got some trees left, but not many. So things are growing in town, and how do we try to manage that? Work with other residents, work with developers to bring the growth that we'd like to see in town. So that's a very important chapter. Equitable development, in other words, we don't want to be acing anybody out. As we go through some of these processes, do we make land more expensive? Do we make it too expensive? And thus housing prices go up. And does that put some people out of the market? We want to be very cognizant of that as we go through this. Community health and well-being. Certainly want to be, as we said, a prosperous community, but a healthy community also. And then active government and leading to legacy. So we're all government here tonight. We're all going to be casting our vote. So it's all part of us. So it's not just necessarily folks sitting at the front table on any given day, but it's all of us. Okay, the recommended priorities and recommendations that came out of this. There were 67 recommendations, and they are in the back here, and not only the recommendations there, but it also takes us through as who we think might be the lead agent in town, who might be the associate agent, so to speak, the people that will be working with them. What is the prioritization scheme that we went through? And you'll see that we did it a high, medium, and low, so we didn't rank them 1 through 67. That would do us all a disservice. But some are more important than others to be done more quickly, and we put them in time bands also. And you can see 1 to 3 years that we'd like to get something done, something 4 to 6, and then 7 to 10 years. Now, you notice the plan is 2030. And, you know, fast public math, that's 13 years from now. But the old plan was 2002, so that's 15 years ago. That one was enacted. So we maybe get that process going in, you know, maybe about 2017 or so to get that new plan. But as we go through that, those bands will help us, and along with the prioritizations, to commit resources to the various items that we'll have there. Implementation. The last 2 years will have been completely for naught if we don't implement this plan. And that's all of our responsibility. It's not just the responsibility of folks we elect to or appoint to boards. It's going to be all of us to keep our own feet to the fire, too, in addition to our elected officials. But if we don't do that, you will have spent a great deal of money, and we'll have spent a great deal of time, as I said, all for naught. Now, everything I've talked about up to this point, you all, okay, the town, it's your ideas, it's your thoughts. We did the best job we possibly could to coalesce them all, bring them together, and have something that's cogent and makes sense to all of us. What you see the next 3, though, is the master plan. We came up with a consensus. We thought we owed you something, because certainly we observed this for the 2-year process. And what were our observations? And what might we recommend to concentrate on as we go through this? And they're melded. And the reason I say they're melded because there's not one particular stovepipe that each one of these fits into. There's an integrated process that's going to involve various elements of those different 67 recommendations as we mention these priorities. We need to complete a comprehensive zoning update. That became obviously clear to us. It's already in the process. The planning board is working some of that. Judy is also a consultant for the town on that particular process and some of the zoning updates. That's our recommendation to the town, is certainly consider that a priority as we go forward and embrace it and work with the town officials to make it happen. Commit to a revitalization of the common. We talked about that. I've been in town 13 years. I don't think there's a day, a week, a month, whatever, that we haven't talked about. We got to do something with the common. Well, now's the time we're going to do something. And this plan is going to help us do that. I sincerely believe that. So does the entire Master Plan Update Steering Committee. We've already spoken to the selectmen, we've spoken to the planning board, spoken to other boards and commissions. Excuse me. And we think we've got an impetus now going for us and some ideas to make it happen. And then the third one there, intermodal, it's a cute, pretty cute word, and you see it on the freeway when they talk about the Lowell area. But it's just, if you think about what we do here in town, we do walk already, we do bicycle, we do drive, we have train, we don't have a bus for the dawn at this point. That's something to improve on. We're probably not going to get an airport, so we don't have to go that far. Okay, and you can see the bumper sticker. Town leaders and you, so all of us, have the responsibility to implement this. And this is the key. Just last week, or 2 weeks ago now, the planning board voted to adopt the plan. So certainly want to thank the planning board. Excellent job. Did want to talk about the money. We're looking to return about $24,000 of that money that you entrusted to us. So on time, under budget, program manager, I love it. Okay, a collage of various pictures: big business, small business, open land, new development, Long Lake, old buildings, new buildings, public schools. They are challenges for us, but each one represents an opportunity. And if we view it in those terms, we're going to be highly successful. If we just look at them as challenges, as speed bumps in the road, we're going to fail miserably. So take this and try to get rid of the word challenge and only look at the opportunities that present themselves to us. That goal reiterated, prospering, small bucolic New England village. That's what we'd like to be. Okay? The Master Plan Steering Committee sincerely believes this plan helps us get there. But, and it's a big but, only if we all pitch in and work hard to make it happen. Because if we don't use the plan, again, you wasted almost $200,000 in 2 years of a lot of life. The web pages, and thank you.
Okay, thank you. All right, I'll read the motion under Article 2. Moved and seconded by the Board of Selectmen that the town vote 1, to accept all printed reports of town officers and committees as published in the 2016 Annual Town Report, and 2, to receive the Littleton Master Plan 2030 as adopted by the Planning Board pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 41, Section 81D, a copy of which is on file with the town clerk. Does anyone wish to speak with respect to Article 2? If not, we'll proceed to a vote. All those in favor of the motion as read, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? Okay, the ayes have it. I declare it to be a unanimous vote, and Madam Clerk, please so record. Thank you very much. We've now dealt with the first 2 articles on the annual town meeting warrant. We'll start with Article 3, which is a zoning amendment for senior residential development proposed by the Planning Board. It requires a 2/3 majority vote. I'll turn to Planning Board member Mark Montanari for the presentation. Maybe I'll start off by reading you the motion as well. Moved and seconded by the Planning Board that the town vote to approve Article 3 as printed in the warrant. So you see it's a quite lengthy article, and it's proposed as written. Mr. Montanari.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This article is an update or an overhaul of an existing bylaw that we have, the over 55 housing development, and it's a direct result of the work that we did with the master plan and the consultants that we use for the master plan. And the reason we want to overhaul or get rid of the over 55 housing bylaw that we have in place now is because it doesn't work. The bylaw is the existing bylaw is tied to the state, and the funding and the criteria for the state is the affordable units you have to meet a certain criteria, and nobody in the town can match that criteria. It's too expensive. Everyone makes up too much money. They can't use the money from the sale of their house. So we've come up with a bylaw that is more senior friendly, I guess is the better way to put it. If you sell your house in Littleton and you want to move into a smaller house, an affordable house, a house for seniors, it's not going to matter how much money you made on your other house. You don't have to answer to the state. This bylaw takes different avenues in order to make the units affordable. We're offering different types of ownership. You can live in a single-family home. You can have a townhouse. You can have an apartment. There's also parts in here for developments of commercial over 55 or senior housing where it's different levels of service. You can live in a unit that you might need a little of assistance. It can go all the way up to full assistance if they decide to come and build it. And the reason we're trying to get the developers to come to Littleton is that there is a great need. A lot of the seniors have these big old houses, 4 bedrooms. They're paying $10,000, $12,000, $15,000 a year in taxes. They want to downsize. So we're giving the developers that want to come to Littleton a tool in which to make affordable housing available to the residents in the town of Littleton. And the way we're doing that is by increasing the density as to what you can build on the lots that are in Littleton. We have different scales of density, if it's a detached single-family dwelling, if it's a two-family dwelling, if it's a townhouse, or if it's an independent unit. That's all in the bylaw here. But what it is it takes an old bylaw that we had that did not work. We've never had any success with the over 55 bylaw, and we're putting in a senior housing bylaw so that hopefully developers come in Littleton and build affordable units that the people in the town can get rid of the big houses that they pay taxes on 40 years. The kids have moved out. They're sick of 4-bedroom house and having to mow the lawn. It'll give them opportunities to move into smaller units that will allow them to stay in Littleton, which through our public hearings that we held, that was the most important thing. Stay in Littleton so you can be with your friends and be able to afford a house that's affordable, is a lifestyle that you want to live now. And that's basically what this is, and I hope you'll support it.
Thank you. Is there anyone who wishes to speak with regard to Article 3? Yes, sir. Point of order? We have been discussing that already, and it's being closed down, and the folks are coming down here from the cafeteria. Okay, yes, sir, please go ahead.
Bob Stetson, I'm resident of 186 Goldsmith Street. I'm also on the subcommittee of the Council on Aging. I'm its secretary, but I'm also on the subcommittee for housing. As you know from the needs assessment report that we did in the past 2 years, one of the major items that we had to deal with was how can we keep our seniors in the community in affordable ways. And we have worked with the planning board and especially with the consultant that came in for the master plan, and they have done a wonderful job of putting together some ways that we can change some of the zoning in town to allow this to happen. What you have in front of you is that creation, and I would strongly urge you on behalf of the Council on Aging to vote yes.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
Charles Howe, Newtown Road. I have a question on section 173-149. The way I'm reading this, it says, while units do not have to be age-restricted, adults 55 and older might be visitable. So the way I'm reading that is, we're saying we're doing a senior residential development, but this is telling me that if I'm 20 years old, I can buy these units. Is there any reason why this is worded this way?
Okay. Thank you. Planning board?
Hello? Yes. In order to keep it out of the state jurisdiction, it's called a senior housing. We cannot age restrict who goes in there. Otherwise, we'd have to answer to the state. And if you get back into the state, then you're going to be into how much money you make, how much money you made from your house, and everything else like that. We wanted this to be local. The town of Littleton will decide affordability, who's eligible, and how to go about it. We wanted to keep this whole bylaw away from the state. That's why it's not really it's not age restricted. That's why it's called the way it is.
So then it can be sold to anybody of any age?
It could go to first-time home buyers, sure. It's geared toward the seniors to try to get them out of the bigger houses, but we can't discriminate and say, no, it's not an over 55. That's why it's not called an over 55. It's called a senior housing bylaw, and it can go to anybody at any age.
Okay, it just doesn't make sense that we're calling a senior bylaw, but...
Okay, thank you. Yes, sir.
Jared Elpier, I've got a few questions for the planning board through the moderator. First and foremost, I was looking at 173-148 in terms of density and height under independent living units. 20 units per acre, 55 feet in height. That's 5 stories. I don't think there's any other building, any other type that can be anywhere near that height. What's the rationale behind that? Second question, do these count for us or against us in terms of 40B, in terms of the 40B quotas? Because if it counts against us, you could have one of these high-density developments, puts us over our limit, and we're right back to another Omni type of development. So I think we need to be a little careful with this thing.
Okay, thank you. Yes, sir.
All right, Gary Wilson, 1 Wilson Lane. I just want to make sure that I'm reading this right as well. This was a confusing article. So what we're saying in 173-148 is that anyone, I think like we just mentioned, a builder could come in, a developer, and put 20 units on 1 acre of land, regardless of whether it was going to be used for senior housing or not. Is that... I really want to do this for the seniors, but I'm having a difficult time just putting this across the board, saying a developer could come in and put 4 units on an acre for a single-family detached, 8 units on an acre, 20 units on an acre, and not have it specifically used for seniors, and we don't have any control over that.
Okay, thank you. Planning Board?
The 20 per acre is really for assisted living. That's how you get a complex like we have up off of Foster Street. To get that kind of density, it's going to be an assisted unit project. It's not going to be single family. It's going to be a nursing home. It's going to be that kind of facility. That's how you get the 20 units per acre. The 55 feet is a number that we put in because that's how the industry standard goes now to build something, a high-rise that's going to be a medical facility. That's what we're gearing towards. You have seniors who want to live independent, build a house, build a duplex, build a condo, something like that. Then they may need more care. The ability to have a continuing care facility in the town of Littleton is an option. Doesn't mean anyone's going to build it. It gives us the right to entertain the idea of having something like that. And it's going to be, all of this is special permit by the planning board. It's not a given. You have to look at density. You have to look if the stuff's going to fit on the land that it's involved with and whether there's a need in the town. But it's a step at least to get the people that have the big houses, that are paying the big taxes, to get them into a smaller unit, an apartment, a condo. We don't have that zoning now. This is the first step to get different kind of zoning in the town of Littleton. That's what it was designed for.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you. Yes, ma'am?
Gabrielle Idenwild, Harvard Road again. One, I appreciate Mr. Moderator, I appreciate the planning board's focus on accessibility for everyone. Accessibility is not something that just disappears only with age. There are people who are disabled who are younger too, so for the gentleman who is worried about the 20-year-old buying an apartment in this kind of complex, 20-year-olds may need that, or a certain number of 20-year-olds may need that. But I actually do have a question about 173, 149. Is there a need for us to codify this specific design principle in this article? Because I know that age-appropriate design, there's been a lot of study happening very recently, and it's very fast-paced research that shows that some of these things that have been codified are actually not best practices for people who want to age in place. So I'm just wondering, is there a need to codify this, and how flexible is that legally? I don't know.
Is that for the planning board, or?
Yes, please.
Okay, or town council maybe, I don't know.
The consultant gave us a laundry list of all the needs that are coming in the future. That's nationwide. And one of them is going to be some sort of continuing care as you get into your 80s and your 90s. This is an option to be able to do that. Hopefully, most people will be able to stay in their house, a townhouse, a condo, a one-bedroom, a one-floor apartment, something like that. But this just gives the option to add something else if, in fact, the aging community that's in this town wants continued care on whatever level they need.
The assisted living, it makes perfect sense. I'm just thinking specifically Article 149, subsection G, the single family should have all of these things. I'm just wondering, what is the purpose of having that legally in this particular article? Yes, please.
We can always waive any part of this as part of the permit. It's a special permit. So we put it all in there, and we can waive, or we can look at it as a special permit process.
Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Yes, ma'am?
Hi, I'm Joanne Deary from Harwood Avenue, and I have questions about the 173-148 part. These detached single-family dwellings, 4 units per acre, that's a lot more dense in other parts of town, and it just seems like it could have a negative impact on existing property values, and especially where it's not just basically anyone could get in there. It seems to me like a real boon for developers. You know, they could go in and build these things and sell them to, sounds like, anyone. And that it says the maximum building coverage shall not exceed 35% of the lot area for new construction. That's a lot of coverage. You know, when we have these the developments where they set aside a bunch of land for conservation and then they have a more dense development, they set aside you know, they set aside more than this, I think. It just seems like it's not really in line with how Littleton is now. Thank you.
Thank you. Over here to my right.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Christine Nordhaus, Star Hill. If this is going to be senior residential development, I think that there should be an age restriction, whether we have to go through the state or not. With the concerns I've heard around town about the full schools and overcrowding, we can't open up 20 units per acre to anyone. If this is in fact for the seniors, it has to be absolutely for the seniors. I think an age restriction should be required for this to be approved. Thanks.
Okay. Thank you. Yes, sir.
Again, going
Sorry.
back,
Yep, so Jerry, hold on just a second.
Sure.
Planning board.
The 20 units per acre is, it's a nursing home. It's assisted living. There's no way a 20-year-old is going to get in there. This is a special permit. We can put conditions on it that, from a state standpoint, we can't age restrict it. When we do it as a special permit, we can age restrict it. This is designed for senior housing. We're not designing it for 20-year-olds, but in order for this to pass and the Attorney General to approve it, we can't put an age restriction. But as a special permit, we can restrict it. But don't think there's 20 acres, and there's also enough things in here. The percent impervious, the open space. You're never going to see 4 units on a 1 acre building lot. It's too dense. It's just a number we put in to make it appealing for a developer to come in and take a parcel of land and put smaller units, little 2 bedrooms or condominiums or townhouses. That's what the goal is. All the way up to a large complex that's going to serve as almost as a hospital, continuing care. We've run the gamut from A to Z, so that you can age in Littleton, you can stay here till you're 100. That's what this is designed to do, and the planning board will have the ability to restrict who goes there, who doesn't, what projects are approved and what projects are not. But that's why we're doing it this way, to keep it away from the state. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Yes, sir.
this thing on. Going back to a couple of things the planning board said, you have assisted living residents, 16 units per acre, 40 feet in height. You also have independent living units. That gets you up to 20 per acre, 55 feet. And without an age restriction, what's the difference between that and an apartment complex? And that goes back again to the 40B quota. Our buildings of this higher density, do they count towards our affordable housing quota, or do they count against it? Because if they count against it, we could get the double whammy. That's my main concern is, if you're not careful, you can open it up to what amounts to apartment buildings.
Okay, thank you. Yes, sir.
Louis Giacovello, Mill Pond. I don't understand how you can call it senior housing if there's no restriction on age. It's a play on words. And if I'm not mistaken, there was a project started that went bankrupt. And rewording this will regenerate that project. And I believe that's the only reason that this is like this. Somebody's trying to get this project up and going, but it's not helping the seniors. You may be getting assisted living. What about the rest of the people that make less than $25,000 a year? Because that's what 38% of the seniors make, less than $25,000 a year. That's government numbers. So where is this affordable for seniors? Thank you.
All right, thank you. We'll go over here to the right.
Brian Tarbock, Spectre Lane. Jerry asked twice what the impact of this is on 40B. I'd really like someone to answer him. It's rude. He has to ask the question twice and no one answers him. Could someone answer?
We can't tell you what it's going to do to 40Bs and affordability. We're trying to stay away from 40Bs. We're trying to put in housing. Maybe I'm not explaining it right. Maybe I should be like Gino and use my hands more or something like that. What we're trying to do, and the reason we can't call it senior housing is we want to keep it away from the state. We want to be able to offer housing for the people in this town, and there's a few gray-haired people like myself that want to move out of their big house and move into a small one-bedroom or two-bedroom unit, but can't afford one because they can't find it. But they have a large chunk of change because they're going to sell their $500,000 or $600,000 or $700,000 house, and they want to be able to keep it. The problem with affordable housing now is when the state mandates how much money you can make, nobody can afford it because you've got all that money from the house you just sold. This takes it away from the state, gives it to the town. The town will regulate who goes in and who doesn't, and what project gets built and what project doesn't get built. It's going to be our decision, not the state's. So there's not going to be an affordability issue to it. And in order to do that, we can't put an age restriction on it because it won't pass the Attorney General. That's the only reason we call it senior housing. But anybody can apply for it. That doesn't mean it's going to be built because we don't want 20-year-olds in here. We want it for senior housing. We want to be able to increase the density so we can build small little condos, townhouses for everybody in this town that wants to stay here but can't afford or doesn't want to stay in their big houses. What's it going to do to the 40B? Well, hopefully in the fall we'll have an inclusionary zoning bylaw that's going to keep us at 10% forever. Everything that gets built is going to have an affordable component to keep us at the 10%. I'm jumping the gun because now you guys won't come to November town meeting, but that's what we're going to propose at November's town meeting. That's the way we're going to try to keep everything affordable, stay at where we're at, but still offer different components for people who want to stay in town. It gives you choices, gives you more choices than what we have right now. We're not trying to build apartment complexes. If you've got 20 units per acre, it's going to be a medical facility, it's going to be a nursing home, assisted living, something like that. It's not going to be apartments for 20-year-olds. This is designed to give more options for people over 55 years old or at 55 years old who want to stay in Littleton, want to stay with their friends, can't afford a 4-bedroom house on Tehadawon Road or Foster Street or wherever, want a nice little small little community where they can go with their friends and be able to afford something and keep the money that they've invested in their house over the past 40 years in their pocket and not have the state messing with it. That's what this was designed to do. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
I will keep my hands on my pocket, Mr. Montanari, and I will control my voice. I hope everybody are able to hear me, okay? My name is Gino Ferrone, 26 Howard Avenue, Littleton, Massachusetts. As much as I love you guys, I think the gentleman is right, but only because I say right 50%. Now, let me give you the other 50%. When I went to Washington, I met Charlie Baker, the governor of Massachusetts, and he says to me, how you doing, Gino? I appoint you on a housing authority. He says, when are you going to get a piece of land from those cheapskate pieces of... They say, I said, don't say that, that's my town, man. I said, keep your mouth shut, Charlie. You are my governor. They haven't given me a piece of property yet. But the question says, Gino, you want to help so much the seniors because you tell me they're calling you. I was able, fortunately, in 2 years, to 20 people, so they were able to have a place to live. Now, I agree with you, Montanari. I keep my hands on my pocket. I was trying to speak very slowly, but the question you promised me, that when a developer will come to Littleton and they have a piece of property, maybe 20 acres, maybe or more, they can build something you like. What about building something for the senior? They make less than $10,000 a year. Those are people that live here, not rich people like you and I. Capiche? That's the way we have to do it. You have your way. You promised me, Gino, yes, we'll do everything to help you. So give us a piece of property. Only I need is 9 acres so we can have a senior center for people that can't afford to live at all. They make no money. Like you and I, we are very fortunate. You probably drive a better car than I do because I don't want to spend money because you know why? You never know what happened tomorrow. So the question is, get off the table and give me 9 acres. Make it possible. Okay, promise these people. Look, in Littleton, there is more seniors than children. You're going to be senior, and with luck, you probably won't even afford their apartment.
Gino, through the chair.
I'm sorry. Okay, thank you.
Even
Give me
the
another minute.
invective has to
Okay,
come
I
this way.
apologize.
Yeah.
I apologize, Mr. Moderator. You know me. being for Venice, I love you guys. So I'm a little
Thank you.
rough, okay? But the question, I want to make my point. The question is, for 15 years, I've been asking for a piece of property for the seniors. They make less than $10,000 a year, and 30% goes for rent, and nothing ever happened. So what's the point to get appointed by the governor on a housing authority if I can't even get a piece of property? But they find piece of property for soccer, for this, for that.
Yeah, I think that's a different
All
discussion.
right, okay, I cut it short. Thank you so much for letting me
Thank
speak
you.
3 times.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
Mark Rambacher, Hartwell Avenue. I had a question on 173, 147, C and D. In C, we have a restriction on, for an assisted living residence or continuing retirement community, we restrict that 10% of the gross total area can only, that there's extra services, but it can't exceed 10%. But then in section D, we have a senior residential that can include things like an adult daycare center, common areas, and there's no restriction on how big those can be. Why is one restricted and the other not? Shouldn't they be comparable?
Like I told you, we took this from our consultant. This is industry standard. That's the way they wanted to do it, and that's what we're going with for the commercial aspect of it.
Okay. Thank you.
Add that everything that we do here can be deed restricted. If we want to keep it affordable, we deed restrict it affordable. If we want to keep it over 55, when they come before us and ask us for a special permit, we can deed restrict it to 55. That's how we'll get around not having to worry about 20-year-olds in these units. Everything is a special permit, and everything's up for grabs, and everything can be deed restricted.
Okay. Yes, sir.
Charles Howell, Newtown Road. I was just going to bring that point up. From what I understand from what the planning board's bringing up, is that they can, when they do their special permit, in that special permit say can only be sold to people 55 or older, or put a restriction on at least one resident in said apartment has to be 55 or older. I'm getting that correct, hopefully, so you don't have a heart attack?
Very good. All right. Microphone over to the right.
Judy Grandy from Oak Ridge Road. First of all, if it's not going to be a senior development, don't call it one. You're calling it a senior residential development. I'm not even sure it's legal to deny everybody who applies who's under 55. Or I would certainly sue if I wanted to live, if I was under 55. I would certainly sue if I found an affordable place in Littleton and they said I couldn't do it because I'm not 55, but there is no 55 restriction. So I think it's a really gray area legally. Maybe I'm wrong. I mean, it's happened before. But I really do wish that Mr. Montanari could explain how the planning board intends to deny people who seemingly would have any right to apply for these units by saying that they're not 55, but guess what? It's not a restricted development. So that's my question.
Okay.
Is it legal? Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Town Council.
Good evening, everyone. Tom Harrington, Town Council, putting on my glasses. So first of all, we currently have an over 55 bylaw, and that's so we can restrict the sale of units to people over 55, and we've been doing it for a number of years. I think that's not working. I think this is their attempt to put in place something that's more flexible so that you're drawing the developers you need to build the units that the town seeks. What I've been asked to explain is the planning board has very broad discretion under its special permit granting authority. What that means is, while you don't see it required, underlined, required in the bylaw before you, it doesn't mean that they can't make it so in the special permit process. So when the appropriate developer comes to the planning board and presents a plan that the planning board thinks is worthy of approval, they have the authority to restrict both the age of the residents and whether or not whether or not it would count against us or for us in the 40B realm. So they can make certain units affordable, restrict it as such, and then let it count towards our number. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Yes, sir.
Sir, Mr. Moderator, Paul Lorero from King Street. Question through you to the Planning Board and Town Council. So this is today with the current Planning Board. How do we know that this special permitting process will maintain the same way when this Planning Board is no longer here and it's a new Planning Board? What's our guarantee that the rules won't get changed on us down the road once the bylaw is passed? Because right now it sounds like it's up to Planning Board to decide whether it will get built or not based on this special permit, but they can change their minds down the road. What's the language in here that's going to prevent that from happening? Thank you.
Well, I guess I'll have to stay another 25 years in order to keep it that way. You have to make sure that you vote people in that are going to do the best job they can for the town. The bylaws will be in place. You'll have practices that have been done before them, so the planning board, as they mature and everything else, do what the boards did before them. Hopefully smart people will be there and they'll do what the town wants them to do as far as this goes. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
I just wanted to thank you for letting Town Council speak. I wish we had him speak very early in this entire conversation. That's a great clarification that we are going to have that type of, or the planning board is going to have that ability. That does put a lot of, at least things that I was thinking at ease. And the gentleman that just spoke, his concerns, sure, if there's turnover in the planning board down the road, maybe we have to look at things, but I would hope to think that we are putting the right people in the right positions to make these decisions. So thank you for the clarification on us being able to create the over 55, even the way that this is worded after the fact.
Okay, thank you. Yes, sir.
Yes, Mr. Moderator, Bill Schmidt, Kinlock Street. This is a question for Town Council. Clarification under 173, 148, basic requirements. I'm a developer. I come in and ask for a special permit. I'm going to do the independent living units. Can the planning board restrict me as a renter or renting to someone who's 20 years old?
Okay. Thank you. Town Council.
Mr. Moderator, making sure I understand the question. Is the question whether the planning board can deed restrict the units constructed so that it cannot be rented to someone of a certain age?
That's correct.
Okay, so the answer to that is yes. So a typical age-restricted deed restriction requires that the resident, and residency is defined by the amount of time they're in there over the course of a year, and yes, you can do that. So the occupant, whether it's an owner or a tenant, would still have to meet whatever restriction the planning board puts in place.
Thank you.
Okay. Yes, on the right.
Matthew Nordhaus, Star Hill. I move the question.
Okay. Been moved and seconded to close debate. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? Okay, that's a 2/3 majority. Debate is closed on Article 3. And we'll now proceed to a vote, remembering that it's a 2/3 majority because it's a change to our zoning code. I'm going to attempt to hear this on a voice vote. If it's at all murky, we'll do a hand count. All those in favor of the motion as read under Article 3, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? No. Well, the chair is in doubt on that, so if we could get our counters to help us out again, we'll get a quick hand count. where it is a 2/3 majority, it's, we want to be precise. So, all those in favor of the motion as read, please signify by raising your right hand and keeping it up in the air until you're certain you've been counted.